can go to the ebook and find a arrays FRQ, and we can go over that.
Okay.
Do you wanna do any review about arrays first, or do you wanna just go into the FRQ?
I think, yeah, I want to review some of them.
Okay, cool.
Or
We can do some like multiple choice as review. So just so we have like the methods of arrays in our heads and like what we can do with them, and then we can go into an FRQ question.
okay.
Cool. I'll start with the medium ones. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. Cool. So yeah, let's just get started. So which of the following statements is a valid conclusion? Assume that variable v is an array of k integers, and that the following is true. So what is this code saying?
The element in position 0 is not equal to the element in position I.
Okay. Okay, so what do you think is a valid conclusion from that?
Not really sure.
Okay, yeah, so I think you interpreted this correctly, right? The value that's in the 0th index, so the first position of the array, is not the same as any
So
other index.
is it D?
Is it D? So look at the range that it says this is from. So for all I, from I to k minus 1. So how many, if I have an array of k integers, yeah.
Oh, is it E?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so why do you think you is your final answer E?
I'm confused about A or E.
Okay, sure. So let's look at E. So E says that the value in the 0th index is the smallest value in the array. Do you know anything about tell you anything about like how the numbers are sorted?
I can't hear you.
Sorry. So yeah, does this like how did you determine that? Why do you think that it's the smallest value, like the smallest values in the first index?
Because I starts from 1 to the last of the length, so 0 has to be the smallest.
It just has to be not equal to the rest of them. It doesn't have to be the smallest, right? So it doesn't say that b at like the 0th index is less than b at any other
Yeah.
index because it's not equal, right? So it can be greater than, it just isn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's still E?
So is it A?
Okay, let's check if A is the answer. Yeah. So why do you think it's A?
If it's not equal to the position I, but I can go from 1 to all the others in the array, then it must not occur anywhere else.
Yeah, good. So it only occurs
in position 0.
Yeah. Okay, good job. Let's look at this question. So consider the following code segment. Which of the following statements best describes the condition when it returns true? So can you take me through what's happening in this for loop?
We are looping through all the elements, and I guess we're checking to see if any of them equal the value that's stored in the variable.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think? So it's saying when would it return true? So when would temp be true?
E. Would it be E?
Whenever exactly one element in A, sorry, which one, E or B? Which one did you say?
E?
E, okay.
The
Whenever
last
exactly one element in A is equal to val. So how did you come to this?
whenever an element in the A array is equals val, then it would equal temp. So that would return
Okay, and it's
val.
exactly one or more than one, or
Oh, more than one. So D.
why do you say more than one?
Because a statement where it just stops after one. Right? So it keeps going.
Yeah, it keeps going, right? It goes through the entire array. So it doesn't return within the for loop, it returns outside. So temp, you're right in that it will equal true whenever there's a val, like whenever A equals val, but it can happen multiple times through the array, right? Hi, Devin. Can you hear me? Okay, so you said D, right? So let's check that. Ooh, incorrect. Okay. So because temp is reset every time through the loop, only the last element controls whether the final value is true or false. So it is possible for just the last value to be equal to val. Oh, yeah. Okay. So do you understand why this one was?
Oh, because it changes every time. So unless it's the last variable, then it wouldn't. Because it only returns after it finishes the loop. So
Yeah. So I will be the last index. So when will it return true?
if whenever the last element in A is equal to val, so C.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That got me too. I didn't catch that. Good job. Okay. Um, let's go to the next one. Okay, this one's a little bit longer. Consider the following data field and method, find longest. The method is intended to find the longest consecutive block of the value target occurring in the array nums. So we're finding the longest block, and that's target, and we want to find the target in the nums array. However, find longest does not work as intended. For example, given the code below the call, it should find longest 10 should return 3 because there's the length of the longest consecutive blocks of 10s is 3. Okay. So do you get what the method is supposed to do?
It's supposed to find the longest consecutive times 10 is repeated.
Yeah, so because 10 was passed as a parameter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so which of the following best describes the value actually returned by a call to find longest? So we know that find longest of 10 should return 3, but what is actually happening in the code?
I think it's just counting how many times there's 10.
Okay, yeah, do you want to take me through what's happening? You want to walk me through the code?
First, it checks to see if any of the elements in the nums array is equal to the target. So, and then it adds one to the current consecutive number count.
Okay.
Or if it doesn't equal the number, then and if it's greater, then max length equals and count.
What does that do?
So
Like, what
that
is
that would change it. It would change the maximum consecutive numbers to the length count. Is that it? So,
Yeah, so len count will count like the current string of numbers, and max len will be the max. So for instance, ideally what should happen is like, for instance, if I say find longest of 10, I'm going through my array of nulls, and I see, like, what's the first string of tens I see?
2. 2
Right?
is the
So
highest.
len count, yeah, so len count would be 2, but the max is actually 3, so eventually it'll be replaced, right?
Mm.
So is that what's happening? So let's answer the question. So what best describes the value actually returned by call define longest? So let's go through with the number 10 and see if it does what we think it does.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to pretend target was 10?
The target was 10. Then the len count would be 2.
Oh, so yeah, so okay, yeah, len count would be 2 the first time.
And then it would just return 2. Right?
Well, so
Because
it's gonna go through. So right, so k equals len count is 2, but eventually it's gonna go through the whole array. Does it ever? All right.
so it would just calculate how many times there's 10. Is that what it's doing?
Yeah. Okay. So is that what it does?
Because it checks how many times there's 10 in the array, so it's just counting how many 10s there are.
In total or for the longest string?
I think it counts the total.
What is your answer to this question?
That I think it's D.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Divine, can I ask you to mute your screen because it's making a lot of noise in the background? Okay. So if we go to yeah, so let's look at why. So len count is incremented each time the current array element is the same value as the target. It never resets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it counts the number of total occurrences. Okay. Any questions on this one? Okay, yeah. So that was what caught us last time in the last question, the fact that it didn't reset. So same thing here. Okay. Okay. Consider the following method. Which of the following best describes the content of my stuff in terms of M and N after the following statement has been executed? So can you take me through what's happening in this code?
In the code, we initialized k to my stuff dot length -1, so it's going in reverse order.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
if my stuff or like the data that's in my stuff k, if it's less than the number, then it will return the value.
It'll return the value,
Or like the k. Oh no, I will return the index of the value.
yeah, exactly right. So k is not the value, but it's the index. Okay, and then if not, it returns.
Is this recursion? Is it recursion?
Oh, why do you think it's recursion?
Because there's mystery n again. Right?
That's being called outside of the method. So recursion would be if this call was made within.
Inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you think in terms of M and N like happens? So what do you think the answer is?
So it would return the index value of the numbers that are less than. the number, the n.
Okay, so is that E? What do you think the answer is?
Mm, I don't think it will return all of the values. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I think you were right? So it will return um it'll go through the array my stuff, and if it finds something that's less than n, it will return that index is what you said, right?
Is it E?
The largest value that is smaller than n is at position m. Okay. Do you think it's the largest value that is smaller than n?
No, because they didn't really say if it's sorted or not. Would it be C?
All values in position m plus 1 through my stuff dot. So yeah, from m plus 1 through the end of the array are less than n. Does it return all values?
No, I think it only returns one. So it would be D.
The smallest value is at position m. Where's m? Oh, mystery n. It's okay. Okay. What do you think the final answer is? Yeah, let's submit something and then we'll check out what the answer is.
I think it's E, but
Let's check E. Incorrect. Okay, so the condition checks for any value that is smaller than the past num, so smaller than n, and returns from mystery the first time that the condition is encountered. So yeah, you don't know if it's the largest value smaller than n.
so is it C? No, but it doesn't return all the values, right? I'm not really sure.
Okay,
Really...
so let's check D because that's what you had said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's also incorrect because it compares the value at the current index of the array to the past num. It returns the first time the condition is met, so nothing is known about the values which are unchecked. Yes, you don't know if it's the smallest either.
So can it return more than one value?
Oh, so remember what the question is asking. The question's asking what describes the content of my stuff. So my stuff is an array, right?
Mm-hmm.
So M and M, think of M and M as like kind of like boundaries to what's in the array. So you're just describing the values of the array in terms of M and N.
So it's C. I think it's C.
Okay. All values in positions m plus 1 through my stuff are less than n. Okay, let's give it a shot. Okay, also incorrect.
Is it all values that are greater than n? Oh, is it? No.
So what was your logic in picking C?
I think I looked at it wrong. Is it? I'm not really sure now. I'm really confused.
So remember how you said like the first number, it goes from backwards, right? So it goes from the end.
Yeah, it goes from backwards, and it gives you all the numbers that are less than num.
So it
Or
gives
in this case, they
first,
have to be less than n.
yeah, it gives you the position of the first number that's less than n. So say like I had an array of 10 integers, and I started from the last integer. and I said that the last integer was not, it didn't meet this condition. The ninth one also didn't meet this condition, but the eighth one did. So what does that tell you about the eighth one is smaller than n, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why it returned k, because the eighth position was smaller than n. So what does that tell you about positions 9 and 10? What was at position 10 and 10?
So the value 9 and 10 were greater than num.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so A.
So it would be B.
Oh, B. So B says
when
all, what? Yeah, B says all values in position 0 through m are less than n. So that you don't know that, if that's, yeah, why?
if we're going backwards, then the number, because in this case, what would be n? That's what I'm confused.
M?
Mhm.
So M is just M is like because what's returned is the position in the array, right? The index.
Mhm.
So M would be the index. M is an index of some number in the array. The first number in the array, starting from backwards, that's less than num. So for B, you don't know about what's in position 0 through m because you're going backwards. So remember how we said that like the eighth position, the number at the eighth position in the array is less than n?
Mhm.
I don't know anything about what's in positions from 1 through 7 because I haven't even seen those. I've only seen position 10, 9, and 8. So I know that
Okay, so
from m,
those numbers, then they're larger than is that?
yeah, they're greater than or equal to. If it did return those numbers, then those are for sure greater than or equal to.
So
But you don't know about what's from 0 through m because you haven't visited those yet. So those could be greater than or less than.
okay. So it doesn't loop through all of them.
It doesn't move through all of them. It stops at the first number, starting from the back, that's less than num.
Okay.
Okay, so A.
So that would be A.
Okay, cool. So yeah, mystery steps backwards through the array until the first value less than num is found, and then it returns the index where it's found. So you don't know anything about any of the elements before that index.
Mhm.
Okay, that was tricky because you started from the back, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this one. Consider the following field array or R and method check array. Which of the following best describes what check array returns? Want to walk me through what's happening here?
So the variable LOC is an int that stores half of the length of the array. And the for loop is looping through all of the elements of the array. And if the element starting from the first one, if it's greater than the one in the middle, then the middle would equal the value.
The middle would equal the value? What does that mean?
Or like L equal K. If it's greater than like half of the length, right?
So lock or like, yeah, so loc is it starts off at the middle of the array.
Mm-hmm.
Does it start off as the value of the middle of the array or just the index of the middle of the array?
I think it starts off as the value.
Okay.
Or wait, no, the index.
Yeah, right. This is just the index.
Right. Yeah, the index. Yeah.
Okay, so it finds the index of the middle element.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said here, this is comparing values, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when
When a value is greater than
Yeah, so if the value of k is greater than the value of like whatever, wherever lock is in the value, that value, then lock gets reassigned to k, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then if you keep reassigning, like when would you keep reassigning lock?
When it's still less than the length of the array.
When it's less than the length of the array. When it's less than k, right? Like,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
less than
sorry.
the value at k. So when the value at lock is less than the value at k, you reassign lock to be the index of the greater value. Right, because k is the index, remember? So
Yeah.
lock will always be an index. That's always important to remember. It's not going to be a value.
Mhm.
So if I go, it's like when does the for loop end?
After it passed through all the
Yeah, so it passes through all.
I didn't get your question.
Yeah, so when does the for loop end?
Is it when it passes through all of the indexes of the array?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so by the end of the array, what should lock be then?
Does it? I think it returns the index that has the largest value.
Okay, so which one is that?
A.
Okay, A. Let's give it a shot. Okay, cool. Right, so I think what's confusing about this question is this line. I think it makes you think that lock will always like either something related to only going halfway through the array or something about the median, but this is just assigning it some initial value, right? It's going to be reassigned through the whole length of the array. So yeah, that's important to note. I think another thing that can be confusing about this, you want to make sure like, is lock going to be the index or is it going to be the value?
The index.
Yeah, so always be sure when you go through these kinds of questions, like that you don't get confused about the reassigning and like versus like what are the looping variable in this one was k.
Mhm.
So just making sure if you know what is being assigned, if it's the index or the value.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to start an FRQ question or go through some more multiple choice?
I want to start on the FRQ.
Okay, cool. Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, so let me pick an array list question. Let's do this one. Self-divisor. Okay, so so this was from a FRQ from 2007. Okay, that's so long ago. Okay, so let's go through this. So a positive integer is called a self-divisor if every decimal digit of the number is a divisor of that number. So that, okay, so if the number is evenly divisible by each and every one of its digits. So for instance, 128 is a self-divisor because it's evenly divisible by 1, 2, and 8. However, 26 is not because it's not divisible by 6. Okay. Note that 0 is not considered to be a divisor of any number. So any number containing a 0 is not a self-divisor. Okay, cool. So part B, write a method self-divisors which takes two positive integers as parameters, representing a start value and a number of values. The method should return an array of size num that contains the first num self-divisors that are greater than or equal to start. Okay, so that's confusing. Let's see what that means. So first num self-divisors with the parameters 10 and 3. So 10 is the start value. And 3 is what the size of our array will be. It should return an array containing the values 11, 12, 15. because the first three self-divisors that are greater than or equal to 10 are 11, 12, and 15. And you can use the method is self-divisor, and I'm sure like this question will give you more information. You'll have seen what self-divisor is, so this probably really just returns a Boolean.
Mhm.
Okay, so no, actually, yeah, it tells you right now. So is self-divisor will return true if every decimal digit of that number is a divisor of the number. Yeah. So you already have the method by which you'll check if something's a self-divisor, which is great.
Mhm.
So what we have to write right now is this part. Okay, so walk me through what your first like initial logic is.
Um,
Do you understand the problem totally though?
yeah.
Okay.
So we have to start from the variable start,
Yeah.
and have to create how many nums it asks us to that are self-divisors.
Hmm. So what's like the first, how would you like what's your first stab at this?
I think we need a for loop or a while loop.
Okay, a while loop through what's like the end condition of your while loop?
Um, I think when we got all the numbers of that equal to the num, or the values that are equal to num.
Okay, sorry, say that again.
The end condition would be when we had all of the values that are greater than start and satisfy like the self-divisor, and we have enough of them
Yeah, so that's
that are
like
equal
you
to
said two conditions, right? So you said greater than start and up until num. Um,
Mhm.
you can start. Yeah. What do you? So you want your like you want to keep finding numbers until you've hit num. That should be your while condition, probably.
um I don't think, I mean, like, can we track how many variables we created?
How many variables you've created? What do you?
um I was thinking, like, do we store the number of self-divisors that are greater than 10 into variables, or do we just keep returning them?
So let's see. It says you want to return an array containing all the values that are greater than start, but you want to return an array containing num values. So you don't need
Okay,
to
so
store.
our first
Yeah.
so our first step would be to instantiate an array.
Okay. Yeah. So it's gonna be an integer array, right?
So int brackets um
I'll call this to return.
okay, to return equals new int num in hard brackets.
Good. Yeah. It's gonna be size num. Okay. Cool. Good first step. Next step.
Um, can we create a for loop and keep adding the values to the array?
Can we do a for loop? Okay. Sure. Yeah. We can do a for loop. Let's write the conditions for our for loop.
Int I equals 0,
Okay.
and I is less than num,
Okay.
or do we do to return dot size? No, not dot length.
You could do either.
I think that would be the same thing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's
And then I plus plus.
I plus plus. Okay. Cool.
And then we need to start from the number that's stored in the variable start.
Okay, so we want to start with start, right? Okay, so what do we want to check? Remember, we do have this method is self-divisor.
So would it be if start dot self-divisor?
So look at how this method is used. So is it a
self-divisor?
or is are we going to use start?
What would we use the method on? Like, which variable can we use?
Yeah, so you can use it as a method. So it's not going to be start dot is self-divisor. You're going to actually pass start in as the parameter.
Okay, so
and it will return true or false, right? So if
because it's a static method, do we use the name of the class?
Oh, okay, yeah. So you don't have to. You can just call the method.
So is self-divisor.
Respond back. Oh, yeah, it is self-divisor.
And then start equals true.
So actually, we can shorten that because if it returns true, then that if statement would read if true equals true.
Oh.
But we know that's always true. So we don't have
we don't need to
do the equate. Yeah, you don't have to do the equator.
Okay.
Okay, cool. If true, then what do we do?
Then we add it to the first index of the array. So that would be to return, and then hard brackets I equals start.
To return the I equals start. Okay.
Or do we do else statement now?
So else what?
Oh, or else it's gonna keep continuing. Yeah, we don't need an else statement.
Why do you need an else statement?
Right.
Yeah, why don't you need an else statement?
Because if it doesn't equal if start isn't true, then it would just skip the to return and it would just go I++, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it would do I plus plus. Is there something you're missing though? Do you think you have to do so start is always gonna be the same number, but you want to eventually go to the next number, right?
Yeah, so start +1 or start ++. That would be the else statement.
Would it be in an else statement or would it be so the way if else statements work is that if I had like this, that means even if like I could only go in this one or in this one, not in both. It would do
okay.
or. But even if it is a self-divisor, or if it's not a self-divisor, you always want to go check the next number, right?
Yeah.
So do I want
okay. Yeah.
an else statement or not?
So I don't think there's going to be an else statement.
Okay. So where should I do this?
Can we just write the next statement right after the bracket? Okay. And then start ++.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else you think we're missing?
do we need to return this? It says size of the array to be returned.
Yeah, so let's return.
Okay, yeah, to return.
Yeah, okay, cool. So let's run this. Okay, so self-divisors for first num, self-divisor, 10 are 0, 11, and 12. Is that right?
We can't have a 0, right?
Yeah, you can't have a 0. So what do you do?
Where did we get the 0 from?
Yeah, good question. Let's see. What is this doing? Oh, okay, I don't know. Okay, so let's see where 0 came from. That's a really good question. Let's also see why is it here? Okay, so so we are gonna go until num, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I equals 0, if self-divisors start, so if 10, so let's see, does it go above 10 or does it start at 10? So nothing with, oh, yeah, remember that nothing with the number 0 should be a self-divisor. Okay,
Oh,
but
so then we have to do, could we add another, like, is self-divisor start, and then we have to see if would it be start mod 0 equals start mod 0 wouldn't equal 0? Could that,
yeah,
like,
so
a
do you want
short
that
circuit?
a short circuit? Yeah, okay, so where would I put that if I wanted to short circuit?
In the if statement.
Okay, in the beginning? So what I do want to do a 2 conditions in the if statement or 1 condition? Like where do you want to put it?
2 conditions.
Okay, so to put it before or after?
Before.
Okay, so if,
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, we should do it after. Because it
Yeah.
includes if start is divisible, right?
yeah, so
Yeah,
if
I think
start
it
is,
should be after.
okay, sure. So if start is divisible and
And start mod 0 is not equal to 0.
start mod 0,
Oh, no, right. It says it shouldn't end with 0, right?
yeah, or any number containing 0 is not a self-divisor. So it doesn't have to, it can be the number 101. 101 doesn't end in 0, but it has the 0.
Oh, that would be hard to check. I guess we need more than one line of code then.
Is that why we got zeros though? That's interesting. Why did we get zeros? Let's just walk through this. Yeah. So let's start with 10 and 3. So we start at 0 if self-divisors start. So if self-divisor 10,
So
let's go to self-divisor. Does self-divisor deal with the fact that, like, about the 0 thing? It does deal with it.
oh,
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about that. So 10 would go up here, it would return false. So 10 would not be included.
yeah,
Then what happens to start?
that'll become 11.
Okay, starts 11. Oh, and I is incremented. Oh,
Oh, okay.
aha.
Sorry. Can we do I minus minus before the star plus plus?
What would that do?
So it would go back, and then if it increments, then it would still be the same I. Would it work?
That seems like a hack. Uh, okay, I liked how quickly you came up with that, but would that work for all cases?
I'm not sure. I don't.
You got this. Okay, so right, so the problem is that I is always incrementing. So like in the second case with 22 and 5, it only did it 5 times. It didn't, so it saw like the 22 was the first one and it worked, so it put 22 in. It saw that
Oh,
the
so
second one didn't work,
the
put 0 in.
so skip the value or
Yeah.
yeah
So
index.
you want to contain I, right? So you don't want to increment I every single time. So do you think maybe a for loop is the best way? Because in the for loop,
No.
incrementing in the for loop, right?
So we need to use a while loop.
I'm thinking a while loop may be easier to be able to control both variables start and I. You see why?
Yeah, because it's only going to increment if we are going to add a value, right, to the array.
So we can decide when we want to increment. In the for loop, it increments like automatically.
Yeah.
So what will my while loop look like?
I would be while parentheses it'd be is self divisor start.
So I liked
Or,
so that's I think that this can like checking the if self divisor start is fine to do in a loop. I think the condition you had in the for loop was also fine. It was just it messed us up because it automatically incremented I. So the condition was fine. The condition was what in the for loop?
oh, I is less than so we need to create a I variable before while loop.
Sure, we can also just do it like this. Well, int
Yeah.
I
I is less than.
none, right?
We didn't initialize I, right?
Yeah, okay, so let's just do int I
Equals 0, and then that would just be I less than none.
okay, so while I is less than none. So that's our end condition, right? So that's what you want. Like when you do while loops, usually you want it to be an end condition up there. Okay, so if it's a self divisor,
Then it would be I plus plus.
where do I do I plus plus?
After to return I equals start.
Okay, good. You want to try running it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So first num should be 11, 12, 15. Good job. Okay. I think, do you have any more questions about arrays? Or I think that was a good problem. Yeah.
Do we still have time to work on 2D array?
We can do a quick review of 2D arrays. Yeah. We can go through and like do one or two questions and see if you have a handle on it.
Okay.
2D arrays. Okay. Are there questions on? Yeah, there are, of course. Let's do a medium question. Okay. So 2D arrays. When you just walk me through how you like our 2D, what is the format of 2D arrays? When you index, do you index by row first and column next, or column first or row next?
Row first and then column.
Yeah, that's like so important to remember because I feel like that's what trips up most people. So yeah, rows and then columns. So let's look at what's happening in this code. What is the value of sum after this code executes?
Would it be 4?
Okay, so yeah, why do you say that?
Because column only stores. Oh wait, no, it wouldn't be 4.
So what is this notation?
it stores the second value in the row.
The column stores the. So what is matrix index 0 dot length equal to?
Oh, 0 dot length. Oh, wait, that would be equal to 4. Oh, that would store 2, right? So it would only look at the second column.
Why would it store what? So matrix
Because,
at index 0 dot length stores 2.
yeah, matrix 0. Oh, wait. Because, yeah, matrix 0 dot length is 4.
Yeah.
We subtract 2, so that
Okay.
would be 2.
So calls 2. Okay, cool. So and it's
So
going.
it would, yeah, so it would add up all the values in the column 2.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So what is that equal
3, so that would be 9. So C.
to? Make sure your indexes are correct. The column 2 is actually index 3, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. 2. B. It would be B.
Okay, yeah, good job. Yeah, so every time you're allowed to index the matrix using either 2 indices or a 1. If you do 1, it always refers to the row. So
Yeah.
the whole row. And then you do dot length. So dot length will give you how many things are in the row.
The length of the row. The length of the row. So that would be 4.
Okay, let's do one more.
And then you subtract. Okay.
Okay. What are the contents of mat after this code?
So mat has 4 rows and 3 columns.
Mhm.
Would it be would it be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3? No.
Okay, all right. So what does the double for loop do?
It's a nested for loop. So first it sees the row and then it goes to the column.
Okay, yeah. So if the row is less than the column, when would the row be less than the column?
Uh, uh, I don't think it's going to be less than the column
Well,
because both of them start as 0, right?
so both of them start at 0, but the way the double for sorry, the way the double for loop works is that like row will be 0 and column will go until 3.
Okay, so
Oh, right. So that's how double um the row will only increment after this has been run however many times.
it would be less than column when it's in the index 0,
It would be less than
right?
call when like for most of it, because call will be 0 the first time. They'll both be 0 the first pass, but call will be 1. After call becomes 1, row is going to be less than call. When call is 2, row is still 0.
Mm-hmm.
When call is 3, row is still 0. So row will be less than call like a majority of the time actually. At least for the beginning.
So would it be E?
So does it happen in the first time? Sorry. Sorry, my voice is okay. If right, so
Oh,
the very first the very first pass of this, row is 0
Mhm.
and col is 0. So does it go through this condition?
No.
Does it go through this
So
condition?
yeah.
So at index 0, 0, it's going to be 2.
Mhm.
So you can get rid of E. Because that's the only one with the 1 in the first index, right?
Yeah, and we can get rid of C and D because they have 4 columns and 3 rows.
Yeah, so that's also
So it
true.
would either be A or B. Yeah.
So after the first pass, what does the value of col become?
1. So
What
that
is the
would be
value of row?
B.
Yeah, right. The value of row is still 0. So then it goes into this condition.
0. Yeah.
So
Mhm. That would be
because
B.
also, right, so like if you were to draw this as a matrix,
Mhm.
it's gonna be 2, 1, 1. The next row will be 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 3.
10, 3, 3.
So it's kind of like there's like an upper right triangle of ones and there's like a lower left triangle of
Mhm. Oh, 2.
yeah. Okay. I think we can like call it a night now, but I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much.
Okay, of course. If you can keep practicing these on the ebook yourself.
Okay.
They're really good questions, and it
Mhm.
really prepares you for your exam, which is like not so far from now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good work though.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next week. There's also actually a session on Sunday if you can come, an in-person session.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully you can
Thank you.
come there and get like more help.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.